Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center as we want to let you know about a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect here for parts of southwestern Georgia now. I know if you're watching from North Florida, especially around the Jacksonville area, really not too much to be concerned about, but we are watching this axe, and we've had even some tornado warnings in southeastern Alabama here. So I just want to let you know exactly what's going on with this axe, and right now no tornadic conditions going on, but we are seeing some damaging wind potential moving in towards southwestern Georgia right now. You see Blakely getting some pretty heavy rain as we go under the hood. You can see here with our storm relative velocity at points. This is our base velocity here. We're looking at some of the different tools that we have, and you can already see where some of the stronger wind is. You can see some wind in that 57-mile-an-hour range about to cross State Route 62, it looks like here in toward parts of Early County. So just want to give you that heads up there. And then as we get toward Blakely, we're seeing some winds in that 50-mile-an-hour range moving on in. Maybe not quite severe up that way as the heavier rain trying to bring some of that down to the surface as well. There's also in this pink color, we let you know about this earlier, a severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect until about 8 o'clock tonight, meaning conditions are favorable for some severe action in close to the watch area. But the focus right now is a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued in the last few minutes here for parts of southwestern Georgia, including Early County here. Watching this accent around Blakely, we're not seeing too much rotation, but we have a boundary here we have to pay attention to toward the south, because when this interacts with the accent here, we can kind of see some rotation try to get going, so that's something to monitor for sure. But as we go back toward the north here, watching the winds here toward Blakely pick on up over the last few minutes. You can see on that last frame, seeing a little bit of higher wind, but maybe just under severe, but still that could be problematic there in toward the Blakely area. We're also seeing some of this wind again toward the northeast of Columbia, Alabama. As we just got the latest update here, you can see this wind energy translating some. Looking at some of these pixels just entering into the viewing area right now, our northwestern zones. We're talking about this morning as well, letting you know what could happen. I know we're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Now we're on Twitter today, doing it through the actual YouTube video player, just because Twitter changed some things around. Periscope no longer around, and I want to make sure we were able to give you the coverage on Twitter. Haven't been able to get through on the Twitter there to test things out necessarily with the new platform, the new way of doing things. So I want to make sure we were on here on Twitter as well today with that latest information, since of course a lot of you that are watching from southwestern Georgia watch on Twitter. So again, Blakely right here now, 58-mile-an-hour wind pixels showing up, and we're pretty close to the radar. This is near State Route 62, the bypass there. So I definitely need to be cognizant of what's going on as we're getting the latest updates in. That severe thunderstorm watch continuing still till 8 o'clock tonight. We just, I think, had some of those counties trimmed away out of that, some of them continuing there. So still watching that. That may get extended depending on how things hold together, or maybe not. Just kind of seeing how things are progressing. Maybe some weakening over the last little bit, but we could see still some action here in that broad sense. It could still be noted here, and actually when we're talking about things, we're talking maybe more on that micro scale level, like what we're seeing here in Early County with the wind increases in the velocity, seeing some of that potential right now here as we get down toward Luke. Blakely here again, severe thunderstorm warning, this wind moving on in to southwestern Georgia. A severe thunderstorm warning does go here in southwestern Georgia for southwestern parts of Miller County, south central Clay, and Early County here as well. So let's go ahead and kind of rehash that here, kind of when we go over this. So we're talking about northwestern Miller, south central Clay, and Early in southwestern Georgia until 7:15 this evening. At about 6:30 or so, severe thunderstorms were located along the line extending from 8 miles southeast of Fort Gaines to near Blakely to near Columbia to near Ashford, moving southeast at 55 miles an hour. So kind of interesting to watch here. A lot of this in Alabama translating over to Georgia now with that severe thunderstorm warning in play. And one reason we're covering this versus maybe not covering to the extent of this situation toward Gainesville yesterday. This is more of a widespread line versus just that really isolated, quick damaging wind gust potential like what we saw down toward Ocala, for instance, even there yesterday, and some of those areas not really in downtown Ocala, but I'm just checking this chat session here, getting information that a lot of drier air has been mixing down over the inland southeast Georgia counties The dew point depressants, they're about 20 degrees, so the air mass is not very unstable to support persistent deep convective growth. The surface-based capes there are only maybe 500 joules per kilogram or less. So that's some good news here as we're looking towards southeast Georgia. We weren't really expecting anything that way, and we're really still not. I'll go ahead and pop up our outlook to kind of say you the viewpoint of this, and you'll be able to see the marginal risk here getting toward parts of south central Georgia. Southeast Georgia not under any risk really. We do see that mesoscale is gusting up towards Savannah, maybe some accent there, but again, the bigger threat here looks toward to be southwestern Georgia. So let's go ahead and zoom back in here with this. You see the slight risk in play there. You see the severe thunderstorm watch here toward Blakely and the severe thunderstorm warning as well. So we're going to continue to watch things at 6:45. We'll be back here at the top of the hour unless there's more information to let you know about. But again, severe thunderstorm warning in towards southwestern Georgia, nothing north central, northeast Florida. I know you hear Clay County and you might get concerned, but we're talking about Clay County in Georgia here, Clay, Early, and Miller until about, it looks like 7:15 this evening. So stay tuned. I said some of those Alabama counties like Houston and Henry under this as well. So we'll be tracking that action here from the Weather Center. See you at the top of the hour. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the weather centers. We're getting some new information from the Weather Service. I know our Facebook stream stopped on us, and we've got it started back now. So hopefully that continues on that platform. But if not, we're also on YouTube as well, and that link is on Twitter at Cloud Casey. They're also retweeted on Cloud_WX there, that Twitter account too. But severe thunderstorm warning now here as we're getting toward Bainbridge, toward Colquitt, toward Camilla. And let's go ahead and give you a closer look at this. You see the broad view here with this, but the closer look does show what's going on. It's severe thunderstorm warning now to 7:45 for, it looks like northwestern Gadsden County, just barely getting into the Big Bend of Florida. We also have Decatur County and southwestern Georgia, as well as northwestern Grady, Miller, Mitchell, Baker, south central Calhoun, Seminole, and central Early. So I know we're talking about parts of Baker County in Georgia, really not Baker County in Florida, just to clarify that for you guys watching over on Facebook. So again, there's your line. You see here what's happening around Colquitt. We have some wind energy really showing up, more of that straight line variety it looks like, and it's really kind of showing up a little bit higher even on the most recent scans. That's kind of concerning. Could have a potential for some widespread 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts in here, depending on exactly what's going on. The only thing I'll say, though, to preface this is that this is a little further from the radar, so that could be a reason that it looks like it's strengthening since we're looking further up, higher up into the storm. Not really sure, though. We're looking for those damage reports, of course, as we just see that the thunderstorm watch has been canceled out for Randolph County. That threat has surpassed and moved past them, so that's some good news as we're looking here down toward the south and the east, though, as we'll maybe even have to watch for Tallahassee. I know there's the marginal risk down that way, but things are moving a little bit quicker than the models are showing, so something to watch. It's kind of a hard situation to forecast. We're not exactly sure how much wind is reaching the surface. I know we had a boundary just come through this line, so the thinking was that this would weaken up toward the north here. Once that happened, we'd get maybe a quick burst here, so hopefully things will start to subside to some extent before they get down toward Tallahassee, but it's hard to say. We're just continuing to watch things very carefully here. We're now at the top of the hour. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, giving you that latest information, just trying to give you the latest updates to protect you and your family here in southwestern Georgia with this accident on a Wednesday evening. You see Colquitt getting into some of the worst of this right now in Miller County. You also see areas there around, it looks like Boynton here, going to be getting into some of this in just the next few minutes. You see even Donaldsonville, I know they were hit so hard by Hurricane Michael, pretty much the hardest hit, or if not the hardest hit, one of the hardest hit spots in our viewing area from Hurricane Michael. And they're going to be getting some winds, nothing like Michael, of course, but still, I mean, as we're looking back 2.5 years later even, there's still some issues there, so got to be mindful of that as we're looking towards Seminole County. Of course, Gadsden County got hit as well pretty significantly as all the damage along I-10. This is, again, nothing like Michael. I'm just kind of talking here and mean that this could be a little bit more impactful just because of some of the remnant damage that is around. I mean, you just never know what can happen at a localized spot. So again, looking at the line here, we're going to go ahead and track some of this here. Now we have it going toward the south and east, and really more east according to the Weather Service. So we definitely have that southern component as well with this overall scenario. I know we have those temperatures cooling on down here behind this. So let me go ahead and track things. We'll switch you on over. Again, that movement here, we're talking 55 miles an hour. So in 1 hour, 55 miles an hour gets us all the way down here closer toward Tallahassee even. So that's something to watch out for. I know FSU baseball playing tonight here. So it's something we were hoping and thinking that this line would maybe be later on and weakening out before I got there. But that situation may be changing a little bit. That thinking may be changing a little bit here, depending on how this does progress. So something to watch out for Tallahassee here over the next hour or maybe even 2 hours here. So we'll have to see if that baseball game gets all the way in. I know the game against Mercer was scheduled for earlier this month, and weather affected it then, I believe. And now with some storms coming in quicker, a little bit quicker than we were thinking, toward North Florida potentially, meaning they could hold together just a little bit more. And even if they're not severe by the time they get to Tallahassee, could still have heavy rain, of course, which would impact baseball or some lightning around, which also obviously is a hazard for the fans in the stands. But again, let's go ahead and say you now our viewpoint once again, our GR level 3 computer, again, showing that around Colquitt, Miller County, Damascus. I know they were hit by that tornado there. As we go over now, I have our other software up. Let's go over to Radar Scope here. We'll go ahead and pop that on. As we show you that viewpoint, you'll be able to see here this axon. You see it around Colquitt, around Gordon. It kind of shows you some other towns. We have significant weather advisory to the east, but the more robust axon here. And you see Bainbridge in the path of this. So let's kind of track this out. So Bainbridge is only 19 miles or so away. So if you do the math here, we're only maybe 20 minutes away, maybe 30 minutes away from this moving in toward Bainbridge here in parts of Decatur County. So watching this here very carefully for you guys there on Bainbridge. Go ahead and move inside. Get away from windows. A severe thunderstorm warning is in effect here. A more organized situation than what we were doing with Sunday or with the storms toward Ocala yesterday in Marion County. So required more cover. The severe thunderstorm watch also in play, and we can't completely rule out a spin-up tornado. We were seeing some areas of rotation in Alabama, even a report of a tornado there at Fort Rutger. I don't know the extent of any damage, but a report at least came across of a tornado touching down at Fort Rutger there about an hour ago. So definitely something to be mindful here. We could get a real quick spin up. So just again, watch for that severe thunderstorm potential. When thunder roars, you want to go indoors. Seek shelter inside a sturdy building and stay away from windows here. That's really important in this situation with this line here across southern Georgia. Severe thunderstorm warning remaining in effect until 7:45. Again, we're talking about parts of Gaston County in our area. That's our Florida County. And then as we get toward Georgia, talking about southwestern Georgia here, Baker, Calhoun, Decatur, Early, Grady, Miller, Mitchell, and Seminole. Quite a few counties clipped by this or being completely impacted throughout the county by this line. So this is something that we need to be taken seriously. You just don't want to be caught off guard here as we're looking at the mapping. Again, this wind energy right there around Colquitt. You see that on our radar scope technology, 64 miles an hour showing up, even 68 miles an hour it looks like. So that kind of indicative of some winds definitely that could be causing some damage toward the surface, knocking out some power causing those power outages is where I'm going with that. And then also just talking about maybe knocking some other things over as well that can be a little bit impactful. This is something, again, that's not really going to impact areas toward Gainesville, Jacksonville is going to be weaker by then. We're pretty confident in that, but not as confident toward Tallahassee here because the overall activity moving a little quicker, and that could be something that impacts them around Tallahassee, around FSU, FAMU, TCC here. Not really in the forecast. There is a marginal risk, so I don't want to say it wasn't completely in the forecast, but we were not really seeing that this morning when we did our update. But now things showing a little bit more action here, maybe translating off toward the south and east. So you see this line, we're talking it only about 50 miles away from Tallahassee, so something to watch for sure. Let me go ahead and put this into motion here. I'm going to take off some of our storm tracks to clean this up a little bit as we go ahead and kind of watch what's happened. You see some of these damage reports off toward Alabama here, getting that thunderstorm wind damage information in. You can't really read that, but talking about a tree blocking both lanes of traffic, and that could be what's happening right now in the worst parts of southwestern Georgia with this action moving in. So I just have to be cognizant of that here as we see it translating on off. So just kind of be paying attention here as we're looking off toward other parts of South Georgia. Bainbridge is a more imminent concern because we're hoping, even if it's capable of producing some lightning, some heavier downpours toward Tallahassee, we're not going to be talking about that damaging wind potential by the time it gets to Tallahassee. So you see Crestview, if I move the map over a little bit, Definiak Springs also under severe thunderstorm warnings right now. That's out of our area, of course, but just want to let you know about what's going on there with the radar update. If anybody's tuning in over there toward the western Florida Panhandle, we do have some other warnings involved with this line, but the bigger concern for our area, obviously, here toward Bainbridge, toward Donaldsonville. You see that moving on in now toward Donaldsonville, getting some of those winds to pick on up there in southwestern Georgia. We'll go ahead and broaden this back out again. This accent here going to be moving over toward areas like Pelham, Camilla even. Maybe not quite as strong a winds over there. Let me go ahead and check on our velocity system. We'll go ahead and check on that. Let me go ahead. In fact, I believe we'll switch me away from radar scope right now. As you see some of that wind energy off of that radar there, we'll have to just kind of see exactly how this tracks. In fact, let's stick with this just for a second. We'll stick with this just for a second because I want to see here how this is kind of tracking here in the motion. I believe we're seeing more around Colquitt, and that wind energy is kind of, you saw some of that kind of pulse up there, but you see more around Colquitt and Damascus and even around Pelham. We'll have to watch out for it. I kind of think here maybe somewhere a little bit further off toward the south we'll get some of this depending on the exact movement of things, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's kind of tough to tell, and anybody under thunderstorm warning should take this seriously. Let me go ahead and broaden the view back out. You do see what's happening here. This accent moving on in further towards southwestern Georgia toward the east, significant weather advisories, but that wind energy higher towards southwestern Georgia. Let me go ahead and move away now. You really see that on our other mode of the Doppler, toward Colquitt, really getting hammered right now. I'd be interested to see just how high some of those winds are toward Colquitt. So let's go ahead and kind of just keep an eye on things in that vicinity. Again, you see those safety tips. I'll go ahead and take those off for now. I don't want them blocking too much of the screen when we're on the camera. But again, you see around, it looks like US Highway 27 getting into this. Some of this translating to the surface for sure. It did just expire that warning off toward the north and west for Clay, Early, and Miller counties, but a high confidence again of some damaging wind reaching the surface here toward Colquitt. Pretty widespread area of wind in that range. Maybe not that 60 in the widespread area, but at least some of those spots are definitely getting that more than likely because of what we're seeing within our radar echoes. So again, Miller County getting hammered right here, right now, here on Cloud Weather, our coverage. You see this, and you kind of see this kind of moving on down, maybe something like this, maybe just south of Pelham. It's kind of hard to say exactly, but maybe something to watch even further off here in south central Georgia later on in the timeline. We'll just have to kind of watch things, monitor things. It's a little tricky with the boundary in play, with this going to be weakening overall to figure out exactly the impacts. But right now, the big impact around Colquitt, and then watching toward the south here as well over the next little bit. So stick with me. We're back at the bottom of the hour with more information. We're continuing to watch this line. Of course, dangerous lightning as well. So just again, we'll be here in the Weather Center watching things for you. And we'll see you back here at the bottom of the hour. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, continuing to watch here that severe weather axis towards southwestern Georgia. You see Bainbridge now getting pretty close to this, starting to really move in toward there, that county seat of Decatur County. So let's go ahead and zoom on in toward that area. You do see here as they go over to base velocity, some of that wind energy there, especially around Boykin and Miller County, but that's approaching now Bainbridge here, the outer edges of that. So something to definitely take heed of. You also see Donaldsonville on the edge of the screen with some of that, though we're further into the rain at this point, so may start to see that kind of slack on off here over the next few minutes in toward that area of Seminole County. We're just going to continue to watch things for sure up that way toward Tallahassee, toward areas of south central Georgia. But I want to emphasize, I know we have people watching from all over the area, I mean even toward north central Florida. I just want to kind of emphasize here that the severe threat is really not going to be around at all as we get toward north central Florida. This is the Storm Prediction Center outlook. In fact, you see that marginal risk in play toward that darker green color, toward Tallahassee, toward parts of south central Georgia, southwest Georgia, of course. But once you get toward areas like Lake City, Stark, Gainesville, there's not even a risk for thunderstorms. There is that risk for thunderstorms, and we've seen some of that action toward areas there of the Atlantic coast of northeast Florida, the first coast, but we're not expecting severe weather in that vicinity. So just again, the bigger threat here, and really the threat at all, is towards southwestern, south central Georgia and the Florida Big Bend. Maybe a little bit of that dipping in towards southeastern Georgia as the Weather Service is talking here in the chat session that Douglas gusted to 33 miles an hour, but overall the prefrontal convection is losing its southward momentum across southeastern Georgia, though a few stronger cells will still be capable of gusty winds near 45 miles an hour across southeastern Georgia, and they extended a special weather statement, that significant weather advisory, southward and eastward. So let's go ahead and move away from the radar real quick. We'll take off some of our other information. Our lightning, our temperatures were at 81 degrees in Keystone. Where I'm at, we're at 80 here near Stark. But let's go ahead and move away from some of this other information so we can get you that forecast model just to break down what is going to happen now. This is here as we get toward later in the night. You see everything broken apart. So it's just kind of interesting to see that. But let's see how we get there as we got information there that toward areas just north of Applin and Wayne, which are also out of our area, gusts to 44 miles an hour recently there at an airfield. But the forecast model here, I'll go ahead and find that super for you in our system. So let's go ahead and just kind of make sure we emphasize this isn't the current viewpoint, but as we kind of go ahead and go back in time, we'll move that around real quick. Now this is a little bit off. I do need to emphasize that as well, because this is what it was supposed to look like at 7 o'clock, and obviously with the warnings here toward the south, that's not the case. So we're going to kind of go ahead in the timeline a little and then just kind of talk about the times being ahead in that timeline. So this is what it's supposed to be at 8 o'clock, but again, that's still too far. This is about what it is now, and we're about an hour and a half ahead of schedule. So this is 7:30, we'll see in the model. It actually is 9, but that's not what's going to happen at 9 at this point. So this is 7:30, so 8:30, 9:30, getting toward Tallahassee, according to this, if it moves at that similar speed, maybe even a little bit quicker toward Tallahassee. We'll just have to wait and see, but you see Valdosta getting into some of this as well there toward areas of, it looks like, Lowndes County. So just going to be watching that potential to see if anything kind of holds together in toward that vicinity. But as we move over toward Waycross, you see some of the storminess. But once we get past about Waycross here, though, this could hold together a little bit longer because of things ahead of schedule, but you really start to see things weaken on down as we get closer toward north central northeast Florida. And I mean, you see everything just completely falling apart before it really gets toward Lake City, toward areas around Gainesville, I-75 here, towards areas, I mean, just all over here toward that north central Florida, the Swanee Valley area, even maybe toward Hamilton County. They could get into some of this here, but that'd be about the extent of it in toward that vicinity. So just giving you that rundown. Let's go ahead and pop up some of our other information now. Again, moving away from that forecast model, we'll see here our look at the current radar imagery, and then we'll pop the warnings back up, that lightning on here as well. We do have thunderstorm warnings continuing here. I know one off toward the west of our area, and then one including Bainbridge until about 7:45. So we do note some weakening. It looks like in reflectivity as I'm looking here. I'm going to kind of watch things, and we definitely see some weakening, but that could be a product of looking at different radars. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Tallahassee radar now over on our radar scope system, because that might get us a little bit better vantage point at this juncture. So let me go ahead and show you that here, radar scope. You do see here what's happening, moving into toward Bainbridge, already moving through Donaldsonville at this point. Chattahoochee pretty soon be getting some of this. But as we go over toward our super red velocity, you'll be able to see here areas of wind. They're not really showing up too much off the Tallahassee radar, and that's really good news. 40, 45, so still maybe some strong wind. But at least off of this viewpoint, we're not really seeing that. So that might make me believe that the Weather Service would not extend a warning. But on the other radar, you see a little bit different situation. As you see 55 and somewhere in that range, 56. So now what we want to do, we're going to kind of do, excuse me, what the meteorologists at the Weather Service do and look at here. As we're kind of seeing how things are progressing. So this is about 3,000, 4,000 feet away from the Fort Rucker radar. And then as we look toward the Tallahassee radar, you want to be able to see this a little bit closer to the surface. So we're going to measure from here now. And this is only about 3,000 feet, give or take. So a little bit closer off the Tallahassee radar now with this. So definitely something to look at when it's closer. That means you're getting a better sampling of the winds closer to the surface and more indications of what's actually happening there as you get near the ground. So that's helpful in issuing warnings. So based off the Tallahassee radar, I would think maybe this wouldn't be continued. Let's look off the Moody Air Force Base radar around Valdosta, and you'll be able to see what's happening here off of that. And not going to get a great look at things, but you can kind of see some of that wind energy as well. We're further away on this, I would think. Let me double check, but yeah, we're 7,000-8,000 feet here, depending on where you're looking, but maybe 6,000. But you kind of get the idea. You see some of that wind near Camilla, interesting to see there. But we'll just have to continue to watch from the different vantage points. But Tallahassee is definitely the best bet at this point, as you're kind of doing some of that math here and looking at the radar winds there with our velocity tools. So let me watch it for Tallahassee. I know that baseball game is going on there between Florida State and Mercer. Hopefully they can get that in before this storminess moves on in. We'll just continue to watch that. Probably won't be severe at that point. Once it gets to Tallahassee, can't rule it out, of course, with some of that lingering wind energy, but we're seeing the reflectivity values drop off, and that's good news. I know with all the rain we had toward our area yesterday, I think it's important to kind of emphasize here just kind of how much rain is falling the last hour or so. You can see here areas around Donaldsonville, a quarter inch or so, but that's going to be a little bit underdone because the way things are moving. You see areas of Southeast Alabama, half inch, 3/4 of an inch, even an inch there toward Blakely, and that's probably more like it, at least in some spots. But this accent is moving quicker than what we saw yesterday with the pop-up stuff and then going away. So kind of interesting to look at the different perspectives, check out different things here in the Weather Center on this Wednesday. You see some of these wind damage reports toward Dothan, though, earlier with a tree down, it looks like near Suggs Road and Headland Avenue. So interesting to see that. Let me go ahead and pop myself back on the camera now. Here, 7:39, continuing this coverage for our friends here, our northwestern viewing area, southwestern Georgia, a little bit of Gadsden County included, as I see a new warning just got issued out west of our area toward Bay, Holmes, Walton, and Washington counties until 7:15 Central Time. That'll be something folks are watching out that way. For sure, but that accident will be going a little bit further down, it looks like here, with the overall progressing and weakening on out as well. So again, you see the line, you see that warning off toward the west that I'm talking about. That's more of a Panama City threat, so something I'll be tracking out of our area. But again, the Big Bend, going to be seeing how much of this translates down here in that marginal risk. Technically, there is that severe risk, so still continue to watch that. Let me go ahead and punch up some of our other systems. I know if you want to watch them maybe this morning, you might want to see some of those rainfall amounts yesterday, because we really added those up yesterday as we were looking toward parts of the area. So I'm going to go ahead and go in our graphic system now and pull that out. You'll be able to see a look at some of these amounts that were measured. I know where I'm at, near start 2.75 inches, but we had some areas here across the region pick up close to that 6-inch mark, reach that 6-inch mark here near State Road 100, based on some of those indications there in Bradford County, west of town, west of Stark is what I'm talking, between Stark and Lake Butler. And you see Gainesville, quite a bit of rain at the airport, but even more rain in some other spots in an isolated nature as well. So interesting to see that. Not much more rain coming this way, though, so that's good news here as we are looking ahead. It's going to be a pretty dry weekend around as we still watch some of this action for sure. I know that forecast I put together this morning still stands pretty good, so let me go ahead and pop that on here just in case you're wondering about that cool air coming in. Maybe a frosty start for some of us, especially as we get maybe towards southern Georgia on Saturday morning, 37 degrees. So going from those near record highs to temperature there really falling on down. So definitely interesting to see that. I know we're just going to continue to see things though start to warm back up as I kind of step out of the way real quick. You've already see what I'm talking about, 82 degrees on your Tuesday, so warming back up by then. We'll just continue to watch here as these temperatures do kind of fluctuate, going down with the cool front scenario, but then warming back up. So just giving you that overview here. We're not going to have a formal update tomorrow since we're tracking the severe weather tonight, but just wanted to give you that look at things here as we head in toward that Easter weekend. And look at things here overall as well. So again, severe thunderstorm warning for another 4 minutes. We'll go ahead and stick with this till about 15 till, because that's when that warning, I believe, let me double check. Yeah, that warning's set to expire here in about 4 minutes. They may not extend this, and then we'll be kind of looking at things to evaluate what we want to do with our coverage. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to Tallahassee radar on our other system now. We're kind of looking here again from those different viewpoints. The Tallahassee radar now giving us that best view of things. And speaking of Tallahassee, before we go there, I do want to pop up the FSU WeatherStem camera right now. You see some of that dark cloudiness around there. Just kind of giving you a nice look though at that sunset as well. Something to kind of take a look at here as we are headed out. Maybe before those storms come in, maybe again just at FSU on this Wednesday evening studying for an exam, something like that. But we'll go ahead and move away from that viewpoint. Just trying to give you some of the different looks. Definitely going to have some rain move toward Tallahassee. That's a certainty, as we do have that Tallahassee GR level 3 look. Now I'll go ahead and pop this on. You'll be able to see here that wind energy not showing up as strong. So you'll see some of that now, and it's kind of interesting to see how it's hidden more stuff in the upper levels. We're not sure how much this is translating. I know we're not getting many reports in, which is good, towards southwest Georgia. Those sometimes can be delayed. We have quite a few reports in from southeast Alabama, so something that's interesting to look at here for sure. But at least these winds look a little bit weaker here, but I know off toward the west, a little bit different story, it seems, at least from our viewpoint in Tallahassee. We'll check the Eglin Air Force Base radar now and see. I believe these winds are stronger out west, and they are to an extent, maybe not quite as strong as I thought. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm looking at on radar scope, as we just got a big significant weather advisory issued, which makes me think we may not get a new severe thunderstorm warning for that accident in South Georgia, but we'll check again with that latest information. So this is near I-10 around Definiak Springs. These winds don't show up quite as strong as I thought they would. Let me see if we have any other radars to go. Even sometimes you have to look a little further away. I know that's counterintuitive, but you can look at the winds here a little bit better sometimes when you're a little bit further up, just because you can be too close sometimes as well as being too far, but you're not really seeing that there. But there is some concern. So with the reflectivity looking a little bit brighter out that way, it seemed. Definitely seeing a little more robust and more held together action out west of our viewed area. So something interesting to see. But just got a new significant weather advisory toward the east here. So let me go ahead and pop up the Tallahassee radar once again. I might see if we can pop that on. In fact, that significant weather advisory, that'll pop on, I think, in just a moment, actually. It's out for several counties, though. We're talking about, it looks like in our area, Gaston, Leon, Jefferson, Liberty, Wakulla, Decatur, Grady, Seminole, and Thomas until 8:30. And I'm going to go ahead and step over here and check on that wind potential within this. And they're talking winds to about 40 or maybe a little bit higher than that. and including Doak Campbell Stadium. So heads up there, unfortunately, for that baseball game. They might end up having some issues there. We'll have to just wait and see. But this is now tracking south at 30 miles an hour. It's to 8:30 with that threat. So Monticello, Quincy, Havana, Marianna, Bainbridge, Midway, Cairo, Thomasville, Tallahassee, Blountstown, as well as Woodville, Crawfordville, Ocklawaha, Wiggum, Stonemill Creek, Doak Campbell Stadium, Chattahoochee, Greensboro, Florida State University, and Tallahassee Community College. So just something interesting to see here with our information coming on out. These storms moving a little bit quicker than we were anticipating. So just checking on some other information behind the scenes right now while I'm off the camera. And I'm going to check here on just what's happening across the overall landscape of things. It's going to take me just a second to get some more information since we're doing this on the fly here, but just trying to check on some different things. I think we're losing a few frames because we're checking on so much information behind the scenes, so I apologize for that. Just always interesting to see what's happening now here with some of the different things here across the region. Always important to be aware of those different events. Just bear with me here. Looks like that baseball game's actually moving pretty quick. So the bottom of the 7th inning, Mercer with a 1-0 lead there. So we'll have to just continue to see if that accident may end up getting there a little bit after it ends. So that's something to keep an eye on there, and be good if that was the case, but might not be good for the Seminoles in terms of that baseball game if they can't mount a comeback there. But Weather Service just sent out an update. The overall weakening trend is underway. Only marginally severe worthy part of the line is back west between Defuniak Springs and Panama City. The rest of the line is likely producing gusts of 40+ miles an hour, so significant weather advisories being used to handle portions of the line from Marianna on east. So that's kind of the latest from the Weather Service. There was a gust in the areas that Jacksonville covers, just outside our viewing area, to 38 in Baxley here just a little bit ago. We'll go ahead and kind of look at some of that action now as we get toward parts of southeastern Georgia. I'll pull up the Valdosta radar for this, and you'll be able to see what's happening here with some of the overall action. So that's kind of an indication of some of what this could produce closer to Waycross with those winds in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range. So again, just going to continue to watch things here. But I think we're going to wrap things up. We don't see anything that makes us think that we're going to have more warnings in the next little bit. Not really seeing too much right now, so that's good. Let me go ahead and check our velocity off of Moody. Just not seeing too much now. A little bit of wind off toward the west, but that's probably just the way we're looking at things. We'll kind of check Tallahassee. Just not seeing too much. I kind of see what the Weather Service is seeing at this point with that weakening trend, with those gusts about 40, maybe a little bit higher, with that significant weather advisory in play here toward the parts of the Florida Big Bend, toward parts of southwestern Georgia here, even getting closer in toward south central Georgia as well as some of this. So we'll be continuing to track things here in the Weather Center. I'll go ahead and come back on camera. I know I have a couple other things we can say here before we wrap up the coverage this evening. This radar view does show how things are moving. Bainbridge getting into some of the heaviest now. Thomasville in the next little bit. And I'm going to check out our poweroutage.us mapping here. We'll check on that in just a moment to see how many have lost power this evening. There are quite a few power outages in the state of Georgia. Let's go ahead and see where they're at with the latest information coming on in. I'll go ahead and switch over toward our other screen now. As that is just loaded in, as you actually see a pretty good amount of power outages here toward areas just really on the edge or outside of our viewing circle. Some of these a little bit further, obviously, outside as we're getting closer, kind of sort of to Augusta. But let's go ahead and look here. You see Clay County in Georgia, not Florida, but Georgia, 648 customers in the dark. Randolph County, 622. Not seeing any toward Terrell or Lee or Daugherty, really, though 47 are noted there. And you got to keep in mind, these are just tracked outages. There's going to be situations here. Where we're not going to have some of these tracks. So they could be a little bit higher than this, obviously. But 584 customers in the dark there in Worth County. 313 customers in the dark in Turner County. Ben Hill, 650 customers. Coffee, 352 there. That's towards Jacksonville, Kenny Warren area. Jeff Davis is outside of our viewing circle, but 1,749 customers in the dark. Abilene 181. So some of this wind definitely being brought to the surface over a wider area, even if it's not all severe or even strong. So we could still see more power outages toward Decatur and some of those other counties there in southwestern Georgia here, south central Georgia even, just based on this power outage trend on our mapping. As we did just get a report in about 6:45, this delayed information coming in out of Early County there. So let me go ahead and go over that way. Right there in Early, we're not seeing any customers out, but only 865, excuse me, track there. So, but we did get a report of a tree down on Damascus Hilton Road there. So something interesting to take note of, 2 miles northwest of the community of Hilton. So always just trying to get those reports in here to the Weather Center and to the Weather Service. They're getting those in there, and then we're laying them off to everybody, all their media partners. So that pretty much wraps it up for now, though. Let's give you one last look at the radar. I don't think we'll get any more warnings. I can't guarantee that, but the overall trend would be that we wouldn't get any more. The watch only goes to 8, and the anticipation is this stuff should weaken on out from here. But you never know. You never know in the weather world. But we were kind of coming on the air earlier thinking that this action wouldn't hold together too long, and I think that's coming to fruition here toward our area. You see some of this a little more robust off toward the west. We'll have to look here toward Marianna to see if some of this might translate off toward Liberty County, something like that. But as we get here toward the north, we have Interstate 75 getting to some of this. As you see that watch there, again, going to be going away soon. We're just not seeing a lot of concentrated wind action, and the models have this generally weakening, not strengthening. So that's definitely some good news here, as we've been talking about it, and not just generally weakening as we get later into the evening. By the time it gets closer to north central Florida, it's going to completely fade away in terms of that rain action. It looks like, I mean, can't rule out a stray shower or two, but the thunderstorms, that action not even forecasted here as we get closer toward north central Florida. But we will see that cool down that we are getting here behind this, and let's go ahead and see that. We'll go ahead and see that now. You'll be able to see how cool some of these temperatures are. In fact, as we get further on back here, and this broad view will kind of say, I mean, we're in the 40s in some parts of northern Alabama now, but you have 81 still in Tallahassee and the 60s in Georgia. Some of that rain cooled air, of course, but 80 in Waycross. You see that contrast in air masses here. That contrast definitely being shown here with our computer system. You see that northerly wind there bringing in that cool air. And that'll be a storyline to track here as we look ahead. Going to be a cool Easter weekend, that Good Friday morning, that Saturday morning especially. Definitely be ready to bundle up. Again, maybe some frost. I mean, I guess you can't really rule out in a very isolated, remote area getting closer to even that freezing mark. So could have some issues there with some plants because we're not necessarily accustomed to seeing freezes or close to freezing conditions in April here. So just kind of something to take note of. I know there's going to be some snow up toward the north and the east there. So something they're going to be watching up that way, that part of the country. But I think we're pretty much giving you everything we need to at this point. Cloudweather.com/radar. We'll have an interactive look at things here as we move ahead in the timeline, but this line going to be weakening on down. We'll let you know if there's any more warnings that we need to bring you here this evening. But right now, things look a little tamer with this action. Thanks so much for trusting me from the Weather Center. For now, meteorologist Casey Cloud. Our next full update will be Monday morning. Of course, if something breaks before then, though, we'll let you know about it on different platforms. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great Easter weekend.